So hey, how's it going, everybody? This is Eric coming in from the blank spot, and this video is for anybody who is considering adding sublimation to their business, their side hustle, or their hobby. Sublimation, first of all, is a science. It's a process, and I recommend before you get started that you research what sublimation is. Simply put, sublimation is a digital printing process that uses dye ink printed on sublimation paper, which uses a polyester or synthetic type material, using a heat press to transfer the sublimation image off of the sublimation paper. And I know I'm saying sublimation a lot to actually make your image onto your polyester shirt. Sublimation, there's a lot of different uses for it. It's not new, it's been around for years, but there are still people who are not involved in the process of sublimation. So once again, if you're considering adding that to your business, your side hustle, your hobby, here's some things that you're going to need to get started. You're going to need a heat press. There's a lot of people who have been doing shirts, um, pressing items. Maybe you started off with HTV, that's vinyl if you don't know what that is, and you have been doing that and you already have a press. A lot of people have those easy presses or those hand presses, but I recommend that you get a clamshell. Okay, that's going to be important. And there is no specific heat press that you need other than it has to be a clamshell. There's no name brand that I could recommend. I recommend you do your research and look at whatever reviews that you're going to look at before you make your purchase. Next, if you're going to be doing your own printing, you're going to need a sublimation printer or a printer that can print sublimation. Now, those two are two different things. There are a lot of people who are just getting started and they will convert a printer to be able to print sublimation. The outcome is going to have the same effect, but if you're actually converting a printer, you have to consider that the images and the outcome of the images is going to be different versus having a sublimation printer. Once again, do your research. Sublimation paper is going to be important. Sublimation paper is different. Each paper is different. It's going to give you a different result. Do your research for your sublimation paper. Can you do it on regular paper? You can. However, I don't recommend that you do that because there's a process, a scientific process that goes into sublimation. Sublimation ink is going to also be needed if you're going to have a printer. You can't use regular ink. Now, you're going to need heat tape. Heat tape is specifically made for high heat. And the reason why you're going to need heat tape is because when you do have your sublimation transfer, you're going to want to tape it to your fabric, your apparel, and you're going to want to make sure it does not move. Once that dye hits that fabric, there is no going back. So you don't want that image to shift or move. So that heat tape is going to make sure that it stays in place. Once again, research your heat tape. There's different types of heat tape out there. There's colored heat tape. There's clear heat tape. Make sure you get a heat tape that does not stain your substrates. Safety is also important. So you're going to want to get some heat gloves. You don't have to have the most expensive heat gloves. Now, if you decide that you don't want a printer, you're still going to need sublimation transfers. That means that you're going to need to do some type of research, network with businesses who provide sublimation transfers for your sublimation items. But if you do decide that you're going to create your own transfers, you're going to need some design software. That's going to be important. Learning how to design for sublimation is going to be different from learning how to design using HTV. So it's going to be very important that you, once again, do your research. I know I'm saying the word research a lot, but that's something that you're going to have to do because it's a totally different process. Now, you're going to need sublimation shirts to actually press those items onto. So now, cotton and sublimation ink do not get along. Matter of fact, sublimation hates cotton. It likes polyester. And the higher the polyester count, the better and more vibrant that image is going to look on that shirt. So I recommend that you get a higher polyester count t-shirt. Polyester can be a little bit more expensive than cotton. So it's going to be important that you do your research, test out a couple of shirts and see which one works best for you. And last but not least, you're going to need some type of butcher paper or parchment paper. Depending on the type of sublimation paper that you use, the butcher paper is going to come in handy, or the parchment paper is going to come in handy. If you get sublimation paper that that bleeds through the top of the image or the back of the image, that bleed can actually go to your heat press. So you want to cover, you may have to cover your image with that butcher paper. Not all papers need butcher paper. Not all sublimation paper is going to need butcher paper, but some do. So depending on the one that you actually choose, you may need butcher paper for that. Also, if you have an image that overlaps whatever item you are sublimating. It could not be a shirt, it may be a pillowcase, or it may be a small towel or something like that. The image that you're going to be sublimating, that image may overlap the substrate. That way, when it does, the heat is going to activate, and the rest of the image is going to create a ring around that image. So whatever you're pressing down on, that ink will get on that pad, and you want to protect the rest of your substrate. So it may be important to lay that parchment paper over your bottom of your heat press and then place your shirt or your item on top. Those are just some key things that are going to help you to get started with sublimation or the sublimation process. Now, everything that I said, you can go and do your research. Once again, if you're looking to get started to add sublimation to your side hustle, to your business or your hobby, I think these are some things that you can actually look into. Always recommend that you go the least expensive route. I can't say enough. Research before you go out and get the equipment like the printers, the ink, the sublimation paper, and you don't know if you want to do sublimation, then it may be a good idea to find someone who has some quality transfer so you can drive them out. So thank y'all for jumping on. I appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is The Blank Spot. Make sure you stay tuned for more videos as we continue to talk about sublimation and how to get started and add it to your operation. You guys take care.